Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Huge shout out and special thanks to the channel members. The manhwa starts with a man explaining how the world he lived in was destroyed. It's a story we've heard a lot, where a gate opened up and tons of monsters began to flood out of it. They were constantly having to fight the monsters to survive. The man had lived that way for his entire life. Just day by day, perpetually fighting, and a never-ending struggle. And for him, time flied by. It started out with one day going towards a month, and then a year, eventually 10 years passed by in the blink of an eye. With a single sword, he could cut down any monster, and he wasn't afraid. But that wasn't the case for what he's standing before now, as we see a giant looming over him. The giant tells him to give up, as the world he knew has already perished. The man says that this person is the one who caused all of this. The giant says that it's such a waste of talent, and he can become his sword. The man tells him not to make him laugh and screams while charging forward. He raises his sword overhead, and the giant swings his fist towards him. But the man evades by going to the side of it and cutting his knuckles. The giant looks up towards him as the man gets ready to go for a counterattack. But before he can, there's something already right in his face, as the giant has swatted him out of the air with an attack. The man narrowly blocks it off, as the giant tells him to struggle as much as he wants, because to him he's just a mere insect. The man can't block all the attacks forever, as he starts to get chipped away. He has to create some distance to regain himself before charging straight back in. Leaping towards the giant's chest, the giant raises his hand into the air, and then swats him down, showing that he truly is insignificant to him. The man slowly gets back up, as the giant feels overwhelming towards him. He spots a pendant on the giant's chest and realizes that that might be something he can aim for. As the giant raises his sword, the man readies his as well, as if he was about to launch a javelin. He squeezes everything he is into his arms and throws it forward. And it's so fast that it sounds as if it broke the sound barrier, putting a hole straight through the giant's chest, flying up into space itself. The giant's attack stops just shy of the man's head. As the pendant has now been broken, the giant says that he can't believe this, but it's his fault for underestimating him. The pendant's fragments begin shooting out everywhere, as the giant screams no. Before he falls backward, also beginning to disintegrate just like the pendant. The man falls to the ground, soaked in blood from his wounds, beginning to succumb to them. As his eyes begin to get heavy, he looks up one last time at the sky, catching a glimpse of a shooting star, saying it sure is a beautiful view. Then his consciousness then faded out. It is now time for our story to actually begin, as we see a man rocking sandals walking through town. But we're not too sure where he's headed until we hear an alarm beeping, and we see that he is at the rank C Namsan gate, which has a minimum of 3 people. And they tell him to please scan his hero registration number and unique ID, as civilians need to refrain from entering. As he's looking up at a building, he raises his foot and stomps off the ground, soaring through the air. And they detect and they see this, saying that there's an unregistered hero forcibly entering the gate. But it's too bad for them, as the man's already inside of it. He begins walking around, as someone calls out to him. He turns, and a group of people ask if he's lost. They say they don't know what happened to him, but they're heading out, and he can come along with them. He just kind of stares at them. The woman comments on his clothes. One of her party members says that he definitely doesn't seem like a hero. And that porters can wear whatever they want, but his outfit is way too relaxed. He's also just got a backpack, wondering what his deal is. They say that maybe the hero he came with ditched him for being clueless. And the man says that he gets what they're saying, but he just got here. At this point, they're just hearing what they want to hear, as one of the people says that he just got left behind for sure. Who I assume is the leader of the group says that he's seen plenty like him, and he knows why he came into the gate. He wants to try hunting based on what he saw on YouTube, but it'll just be suicide. He should first get a hero license, and then pass the test. Then reminds him that this is a C rank gate. So if he's starting out, he should go to a lower rank one. The man says that he gets that they're trying to be helpful, but he's not really asking for advice. They can't believe that he's acting like this, calling him crazy. He begins walking away, and they decide just to let it go, because even if he ignores the advice given out of concern, it's ultimately up to him whether he'll listen or not. Because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink, and he's going to learn that the gates are nothing like what he saw online. As a shadow begins to loom over him, he looks up, seeing some kind of giant monster looking down at him. It begins to growl, followed up by a scream. As the man takes off his backpack, he sighs, watching as the monster attacks straight towards his head. He says it's been 10 years. As the attack hits where he was standing, the monster is surprised because there's nothing there, only for the man to rear back his fist, one punch manning its entire head clean off. The monster drops to its knees before falling onto the ground, pouring blood everywhere. And he says not a single thing is different from how it used to be. As he's looking down at its corpse, he reaches towards it, grabbing onto its blade. He looks at his reflection, and then walks toward it as he begins digging into it, straight through the top of its torso, until he pulls out some kind of stone. We learn it's a low-grade magic stone. In the past, he wouldn't have even glanced at such a low-grade item. He puts it into his bag, and starts to zip it up. As he finishes up, he notices something to his right. More monsters begin to approach him while screaming. They are now right behind him. One swings, which he ducks underneath. Holding onto the low-grade magic stone, he tightens his grip, and then yeets it, blowing off one of their heads. As it starts to fall backward, the other two begin screaming, running directly toward him. He drops his bag to the ground, looking dead ahead. Meanwhile, the team who was in earlier is wandering, and the girl says that she's curious as to what will happen if he actually dies or something. One of her teammates asks if she's worried about him, saying that if that guy is really an intruder, by now agents from the control center would be on their way, as this is the Namsan Gate. So elite agents ranked B or higher will be dispatched due to the gate's ranking. As long as he doesn't lose his mind and attack a monster first, he won't die, so they shouldn't worry. They say that he's right, and the girl says that disrespectful jerk is probably trembling, waiting for the agents to come save him. But actually, it's the monsters trembling in fear, as he punches one of them in the head. I guess he held back because it didn't explode. One of them starts to attack from behind, but he dodges out of the way, causing it to slam into the floor instead. The monster realizes he's screwed, as the man's now already behind him with his leg raised into the air. He deletes a chunk out of this guy's skull, causing him to fall into the ground too. He grabs onto the blade, saying that this is 3 more magic stones. After digging through their corpses to find them, he puts them into his bag, saying that the harvest is not so great. He has 12 low-grade and 16 lower mid-grade ones, until one of the control center agents finds him. They start running closer until they are now squatted up in front of him, saying that they are from the gate control center. He needs to show his hero registration card. If he's an unregistered hero, he'll need to come with them to the control center. He asks what a gate control center is, and the man tells him to just comply with their instructions, as he looks pissed. But the man doesn't have time to deal with such tedious things, and calls them annoying. The control agents tell the other one to get the cuffs out and cooperate, and that if he refuses to comply, they may use physical force. They grab onto his hand, saying that if he resists, any physical harm caused will be entirely his responsibility, and it would be best to come to the control center peacefully and resolve this. The man immediately pulls the agent's hand off, which surprises the control center agent, and the man tells the agent to stop bothering him and just go back. They all start to draw their weapons, as we see them having some kind of batons. The man recognizes it as a grade 4 mana seal, saying that it might work on an orc, but to him it means literally nothing, as he twists the guy's hand, causing him to fall to the ground. This is their final warning, and if they don't want to get hurt, or worse, they should leave now. As they start to fly towards the man, he easily deflects both of their batons and even the follow-up punch. He then starts to tense up his leg, returning with the knee to the guy's side. As he's reeling from the pain, he keeps his leg up and immediately transitions into a kick into the other man's chest, sending him flying. Realizing that they might have made a mistake, one of the guards starts to look hella nervous. The man glares at him and then disappears straight in his sight. The guy has an uneasy feeling, which is to be expected, as he gets hit straight in the gut. As he's reeling from the punch, coughing, the man asks if they're done, asking there are no problems with registered heroes. He says there isn't, as long as there's no illegal acts inside the gate, no one will be dispatched. He asks about the rift zone, which surprises the guy. We learns it is a dimensional passage where bizarre monsters have appeared all over the world, and here, the byproducts obtained from hunting monsters were used as a new energy resource. For that reason, the state strictly controls the passage and confines the monsters that place, are the gates. The unknown spaces that have not yet turned into gates are called rift zones. He says no matter which gate he goes through, they'll still come looking for him, claiming it's trespassing or whatever. Guard number 1 says that's right, because if an unregistered hero enters a gate without authorization, it's immediately automatically reported to the control center, and agents stationed nearby are dispatched. But the rift zone can't be entered as easily as a gate, and the Hero Association won't let it go. The man wonders what he should do then, and he grabs him by the face. The guard realizes he should have notified headquarters from the beginning. He gets pulled backwards and then yeeted forward into the trees. Bro low-key seems bored, saying that they're nothing special. The guard starts to get back up, yelling at him, saying that he's going to kill him, as he watches him walk away. Back to whenever he killed the giant after the pendant broke, he says that he heard that bastard scream, and while he lost consciousness, he felt like he was being sucked into something. To him, he just thought it was death, but as he slowly opened his eyes, he was floating downwards, and we spot the body he's in currently. We finally learn that the body's owner is named Seo Dojin. He introduces himself saying that he is dying, and if he grants his request he will quietly disappear just like this. The hero says no, and Dojin looks anxious. He says he has no more regrets about life, since it's all bullshit. He fought desperately for 10 years, only to be betrayed by somebody he trusted, and the country he lived in is destroyed. His friends are all dead, so is his family. Even if he lives diligently, life gives him nothing in the end, saying surely he feels that too. Dojin says even if his life turns out like that, he hopes his grandmother and Yoon Young, who are still alive, don't have to live like that. The hero sighs, asking him what he wants. Dojin gets excited and goes to tell him exactly what he wishes for. But then we are taken to the Gasan digital complex inside of Seoul. It is now called the Hero Complex, because there are far more gate byproduct trading companies than anything else. As we see him walking around, he decides to go into the store. He is welcomed by the cashier, and Dojin says he wants to sell him some magic stones. The cashier says he has come to the right place, and they buy at the highest prices in the entirety of South Korea. Dojin starts pouring them all over the table, and the dude looks disgusted, saying at least he should wipe the blood off before bringing them in. He tells him he has a lot of magic stones, and that he will go sort them out, asking if he would like some coffee. Dojin tells him to do as he pleases. As the man begins cleaning them, Dojin drinks his coffee. The cashier counts them all up, saying that he should know the fee is 40% of the purchase price, and if they do the math, this is how much it would be. But Dojin tells him to stop. He did all the hunting, and all they did was buy it, yet the fee is 40%. The guy asks if he really doesn't know how this works. They usually take 45, but they're giving him a better deal. If he doesn't want to sell, he can just take it back. As no matter where he goes, he won't find a better price. Dojin starts taking them back, saying okay. The cashier grabs his hand, saying that he has to pay the sorting fee. The coffee isn't free either, and he starts telling him how much he's going to charge him for it all. Since he can no longer reuse the expensive towel because of the blood, he can also pay for that. Dojin says that he doesn't have any money, and he can try to take it if he wants. The dude begins grinning, saying that he should pay, as they have a few C-rank heroes watching their backs, calling him a son of a bitch. On cue, they enter the door, as a man with a scar asks if he was called for, and if someone's causing trouble. Dojin glances up at him, as Scarface looks back down at him as well. They're so weak that they get off screen, as we see the cashier looking terrified. Scarface hits the desk, making the cashier scream, as they all just got bodied in a flash. The cashier is just horrified. Dojin then approaches the desk, saying that the fee is only 1%, and he wants to make it a fair deal from now on. The cashier then tells him to come back again next time. As he heads back, slams the money on the table, we see his grandmother and Yoon Young looking surprised, and they ask him what's the deal with all the money? He says that he once lent money to a friend who was starting a business, and that business became a huge success. They're surprised. His grandmother looks suspicious that he has a friend like that, and he says that she knows the place where he grew up, and he's a friend that he used to hang out with back then. She says that makes sense. She looks down at it as Yoon Young wonders if they're rich. He says yes, and they should go shopping, since they are. While patting her head, she starts running around super happily, saying that they're rich over and over. As he watches her, he recalls the original body's owner wishing that both his grandmother and Yoon Young could live in a home safer than anywhere else. He couldn't say anything else to the original body's owner. He vanished, and he woke up in his place, and he has been living here ever since. He says the safest house in Korea currently costs 110 billion won. There's no obligation to keep a one-sided promise, but if he just gets his strength back, that amount of money will be nothing to him. The rift, the gates, the monsters, pretty much everything in this place will be destroyed. At some point, there's nothing he can do about it because he is currently weak. For him being the sword god, this place is child's play, but he hasn't even gotten back 10% of his strength yet. Someone starts banging on the door, asking him if he's inside. He wonders who the hell it is, and says he will go see, so they can stay here. And as he opens the door, we see two men standing in front of him. They say it's about time he pays the money that he borrowed, and that it's 48 million won. He says that they're the loan sharks that the real one borrowed money from before he died, and that it was for his grandmother's hospital fees. They say surely he made some money after going to the gate, and then he should hand it all over, and they tell him not to feel wronged. Sanji from Taemu feels Dojin's fist grots by his face, hitting his friend in the head, causing Bro to fly backwards into the wall. Sanji turns, surprised, and Dojin says that he's already paid back over 9 million so far, and that he should be the one getting paid instead. Panicked, Sanji asks if he's really Dojin. Dojin tells him that he should go tell his boss that he'll be paying him a visit soon, as he hits him as well. And then it takes us to a mall. As we see a lot of cute teddy bears, Yoon Young's asking if she can really have one. Dojin says yes, and they bought new clothes already, so she can go ahead and buy everything else that she wants. Since he shares Dojin's memories, even his dried up emotions began to change. It's still just sympathy for now, but he was kind to Yoon Young even though she's his half-sister with a different father, and at the very least, he'll protect that feeling. She grabs a little rabbit, asking if she can choose this one, and looks really sad. He then grabs a giant bear off of the wall, as we see her eyes light up, and he says that he told her to buy whatever she wants, and she starts laughing. They then go to the food court and get some food. And we hear yet another person calling out to Dojin. Damn, he is popular. He turns, as we see a woman with two bodyguards behind her. She asks what's going on, and why he's wearing such nice clothes when he's nothing special, and who that is next to him, if he messed up like his mother or something. He starts to get pissed. As he glares at them, the guards begin staring back. Yoon Young just wonders who this old lady is. The girl then approaches Yoon Young, asking what her name is. She tells her, and she says that she should have expected it of somebody from the Lee family, because looking at the way she's dressed, she's so shabby, just like her mother. Then she asks Dojin if she's right while laughing. Dojin starts to get pissed as she then mocks him, asking if he's mute since he's not answering. Annoyed that he's not saying a single word, she then decides to poke at Yoon Young instead, asking if she knows what the word slut means. Dojin decides that he doesn't want to sit there anymore, saying that a woman as ugly as an orc shouldn't be talking. The girl turns, surprised, and he's just furious. We learn more about Dojin, or at least the original owner. He was born out of wedlock and lived in poverty. At the age of 7, after his mother died, he got to live in his biological father's house. He lived there for over 10 years with discrimination and contempt, and after his father's second wife gave birth to a son, he was completely neglected and then driven out once more. He lived at his maternal grandmother's house with his half-sibling that he's never seen before. The sword god wonders just how strong-willed Dojin was to be able to endure all of this, but says that he will make sure that he handles it. He says they lived together for 12 years, and she still disgusts him, and both the way she looks and her personality are awful. Also that she's also dumb as hell. She has an awful inferiority complex towards anybody that's prettier than her, which is almost everybody on the planet. Compared to Yoon Young, she's even jealous of a child, which is absolutely crazy. In regards to his sister, she's not better in a single aspect. He looks down at her, waiting for her to reply, and she starts to get pissed, asking what he just said. Then we hear a woman telling Dojin it's been a while, and she starts to approach them. I assume that it's the girl's daughter. Holy shit, what a plot twist. The orc is the daughter, that's crazy. She starts crying, asking if she heard what that bastard just said to her. The mother tells her that's enough, and she needs to stay quiet, asking why she's so uncultured. She asks Dojin if he's been doing well, saying even if he's busy, he should come home once in a while. Dojin says that she's a fake piece of shit who tormented him for almost 12 years, and she says that his father worries about him so much. He says that this makes him sick, and they're not people who exchange greetings at all, and he tells her to fuck off already. She immediately drops her fake persona and turns, walking away. She wonders if this is really the Dojin she knows, as he would lower his head even if someone slapped him for no reason. Piggy starts to chase after her mother as Dojin watches them leave. He tells Young it's time to go. She says okay, and the sword god says that the Dojin they all knew, who took everything without speaking his mind, no longer exists, and they better realize that for their own good. As they are driving away, the orc asks her mother why they just left like that, as she should have crushed him. She goes to tell her mother what he called her, but the mother ignores her, calling out to one of the bodyguards, asking why Dojin is still alive. He says that he was clearly told in the report that somebody named Kang Cholwu left him at the gate. The woman screams, saying exactly, so why is someone who should be dead still alive? The guard says that he'll double check and try to figure out why, and Piggy wonders what the hell she's talking about by him being dead. The mother just sits there annoyed, as she continues pestering her, wondering what she's doing, and if she really tried to kill Dojin. Her mother then asks if she still likes him, and she immediately starts to blush, getting panicked, saying that it's not like that, but if grandpa or dad figure out about it, it would be over. Her mother instantly covers her mouth, saying that she'll handle it herself, so she should stay out of her business. Poor girl's probably been abused her entire life, and that's why her personality is so bad. But her mother's just pissed that she got talked back to in the first place, saying that she'll get rid of him no matter what. We get more backstory about how 10 years ago, there was a rift zone that appeared. Monsters poured out and killed people, and that was when the world was thrown into chaos. But with the rise of heroes, the chaos quickly settled, and the mana stones extracted from monsters began to gradually replace traditional energy sources. Countries devoted everything to turning rifts into gates, and now the entire industrial structure revolves around gates and heroes. In other words, if you want to make money, you need to become a hero. He heads to a building to go register as he walks forward. He enters it. We see a man smoking, asking him if he's here to pay his debts. We recognize behind him are the two loan sharks who were at his house. He says that he can't believe he's here after shamelessly wrecking his boys. The more he thinks about it, the more he feels like he got screwed. Dojin says that's how he feels, as the more he thinks about it, the more he feels like he got screwed. The guy asks what he's talking about. Dojin says it's time he got compensated for the mental, physical, and material damage they have caused. Bossman says that he used to be a soft kid, now he's got a whole new attitude, and judging by how he wrecked his boys, he must have awakened inside of a gate. He says that he must have gotten something quite nice, asking if he wants him to tell him what happened to the other cocky punks who thought they were hot shit after awakening. More men begin to enter the room and begin surrounding Dojin. The boss man continues, saying all those guys who acted tough after awakening still ended up as D-rank trash, but surely he knows that he's got plenty of D-ranks under him who would not let him run his mouth. Dojin sits there for a second, then tells boss man to sit down, as he is yet to finish talking. One of the men immediately charges at him, saying that he can't believe he's looking down on his boss. Dojin grabs his glasses by the bridge and throws them off before hitting the dude in the face, sending him flying across the room. He then hits another one in the cheek and says that they're nothing but shitty loan sharks, but also he knows that they forge IDs. And if he wants to make money, now he needs a hero ID. He dodges one of their punches, returning his own instantly, hitting the guy straight in the face, sending him flying as well. Now all of the men are dealt with. Dojin says that they need to make his ID perfect so they can't trace it back, and it needs to be finished by tomorrow. Bossman is surprised, and so are the other two original loan sharks, because they knew he was strong, but not to this extent. They ask what the hell is his power, saying that he might even be a B rank, since this is well above what a C or D rank could be. Dojin asks why he's not answering, and the dude bows, saying that he'll do it. Dojin puts his hand on his shoulder, saying one more thing, asking if Io told them to kill him, who is his stepmother, because the guy starts thinking about her, and Dojin asks why he's not answering as he squeezes his collarbone. The guy begins screaming in pain, and he immediately folds, saying that it was her. She said that she wanted him drowning in debt to the point that he'd take his own life. He begins begging him to let him go. Dojin asks if that's why he was thrown into the gate. Bossman says he has no idea about any of that, and he's telling the truth. If he died, he wouldn't get his money, so why would he throw him into an A gate? And he swears it's true. Dojin thinks about it, and then says Chul Wu's name, saying that he's the guy who dragged him into the gate, and they should bring out everything they have on him by tomorrow. Bossman agrees, and as Dojin leaves, Sanji bows to him. As he's heading back, he recalls the original Dojin wanting his family to be safe, and says that he sure is a pitiful boy, and he'll do everything he can to fulfill his wish. We see they've forged a B rank hero card for him. As he swipes it against the security system, it confirms that it has been verified, but warns him that he is below the recommended rank. It could be dangerous, so he should please think about it thoroughly before entering. Dojin says that they should have made him at least an A rank. It continues warning him that he is below the recommended rank, but he enters anyways. He is inside of the Bam Island gate. It is rank B, and it recommends a minimum of 2 party members. I wonder why it's saying below minimum rank if he is the same rank. But anyways, he says though it's ranked B, the D scale size makes solo play difficult, and since it's a tunnel type, only small group play is possible, making it hard to clear unless you're around an A rank. If you're really unlucky, you'll have to face hundreds of monsters alone in a dark narrow tunnel. A serpent appears before him as Dojin readies his hand. He says that he likes it, as we see he has some kind of new gloves. The serpents begin attacking at him, and in an instant, he dashes through, ripping its mana crystal out of its chest. As another one starts to release venom from its fangs, Dojin says that it's a black fang viper. It's a venomous snake whose touch alone will cause paralysis. He quickly lands on the ground below it, and then starts pivoting on his foot, generating force as he dashes back around, cutting it pretty much everywhere. As it starts to fall into pieces, he looks down at his gloves, saying that's pretty crazy. While the gloves are a little damaged now, they're definitely worth the money he paid. He then looks over, seeing even more serpents. He quickly starts making light work of them, as he's ripping them apart, literally, sending their venom flying throughout the entire area. Finally, he finishes clearing them up, and starts digging through their corpses, asking if there are really no magic stones. He says if it's like the previous world he was in, the drop rate for magic stones from these vipers is about 3%, and he'll have to kill at least a few hundred. He makes his way to some skeletons, and as there's a black miasma floating around them, he looks up, saying it must be time for the boss, as we see a giant black fang viper this time. He says that he didn't know where the path was, but this works out, and he wants to end this quickly and get out of this dungeon. As he rears back his fist, we hear a loud sound, and we see his hand shaking, as he feels a sharp pain on his wrist. All he did was dent the monster's skull, and he can't believe his attacks aren't strong enough. It then starts to come in from the side with its tail, swiping, hitting him into a nearby wall. Immediately, it follows up, going for a bite, which he narrowly dodges by backstepping. He immediately charges back in with his fist reared back, and once more, punching it on its side. Surprised that he still didn't make any damage, he says that he low-key expected this. It's on a whole other level than the snakes he fought outside, and its outer layer is too tough, so punches aren't going to work. If only he had regained his strength, trash like this would be nothing. He spots something down to his left, which is a sword, and he sighs, saying that he'll have to make do. He pulls it out of the ground, saying that no matter how old a blade is, it all depends on who wields it. He then walks forward, and tells the previous owner that he's going to be borrowing his weapon. As the boss flies in towards him, he dashes off the ground, soaring in the air above it. He says that this boss should consider it an honor to be killed by him. As he tightens the grip on his blade, the monster turns towards the air. He does as well, as he starts to unleash an attack, which is a bright yellow attack in the shape of a blade. Sadly, the sword gets shattered into pieces, and as the debris flies by his face, he says that could have been really bad if he had missed his attack. He walks over towards its corpse, and rips something out, and we see that it's none other than one of the fangs. He says it's too short to be a longsword, but with a little refining, it'll be usable, but still, this job will pay better than anything else, so that's a relief. He heads out of the dungeon, saying that he can't believe he wasted so much time on this gate, and regaining his power takes priority above all else, and he's glad his old comrades are not around to see this state he's in. Back at the Magic Stone dealership, we see they have a new mascot out front. As a guy is putting his magic stones back into his bag, we hear the delinquent saying that he's gathered a lot of good mana crystals, but the commission is 40% as usual. The dude says the commission is still expensive, and that he's a pretty good regular, asking for a discount. The delinquent says that he can't, and as he knows, their commission is the cheapest around. The Gate Center's basic commission alone is 5% on top of the other 45, and since they don't leave a transaction record, he doesn't have to pay taxes either. All things considered, with a commission like this, they can make a clean transaction, so it's just a net gain for him. The guy says it's true, but is curious as to what the hell happened to his face. The delinquent tells him not to ask. Some crazy bastard came and beat their guards to a pulp, and even beat him. The dude says that it looks like they let their guard down just because they had some C-rank guards. That's why he kept telling them that they should look at a guard's skill, not their rank. As ranks were made for the convenience of the government, whereas actual skill is different, it's a mistake to think that the same rank means the same skill. A guard who just got a license and watches a store, versus a hero who hunts monsters risking their life, there's no way their skills would be the same. The delinquent wishes that he would just stop nagging and go if the deal is done. Because the man tells the delinquent he's known him for quite a while, so if he needs help, he can just ask. As he goes to leave, we see Dojin walking past him, looking straight at the delinquent who freezes up, and he yells, telling the customer that this is the guy who attacked him. The guy asks why someone so tall and good looking would cause such trouble here, and starts cracking his knuckles, asking if he really was the one who did it. He calls himself a hero, yet he goes around hitting innocent people, asking if he doesn't know how a hero's job is to save civilians. The delinquent smiles, saying that this is a 7-year veteran hero, and he knows a lot of senior and junior heroes, so if he messes with him, it will be trouble. But Dojin tells the man to mind his own business and get lost, which starts to piss him off. The delinquent smiles, and Dojin asks if he's going to try to get revenge or something. The man tightens his fist and says that the number one cause of death for heroes isn't monsters, but it's accidental fights with fellow heroes. His intuition activates, and he clears his throat. He tells the delinquent they'll see each other later, and he's gotta go because he's busy. The delinquent can't believe that his bro folded under zero pressure, and Dojin says it seems like he has a lot of complaints about him. He throws a whole bag of crystals at him, telling him to go ahead and calculate it up. The delinquent's surprised that they're all high grade, asking who he is. As he starts calculating, he tells him the total is 150 million won. Dojin, a little annoyed, says that he hunted all day, yet this is it, telling him to go ahead and bring it. The guy goes to tell him about the commission fee, but Dojin glares at him, and he realizes that he said something wrong. Dojin says if it's only 1%, then he still owes him 148.5. The guy calls him a bastard, telling him that the commission fee is 40%. At least that's what he wants to say, but he wants to live as well. He says that for transactions over 100 million, he needs to get approval from his superior. Dojin tells him to go ahead and get it then, as he doesn't have time to waste. The delinquent calls his boss, telling him what happened, but Dojin snatches the phone out of his hands, asking if he understands, as he wants his damn money. The boss says that he understands for now, asking if he could give his employee back the phone. Dojin looks off to his side and flicks his wrist, sending it flying into the wall behind him, and Dojin tells him to go get his money since his boss agreed. The delinquent says yes, and starts putting it into bags, as Dojin says that he hopes they'll have another friendly trade next time. The delinquent asks how the hell this was friendly. 10 minutes later, his boss enters, asking why he's not answering his phone and what was with the call from earlier. The delinquent tells him that he's going to quit the job, and he can't take it anymore. The boss looks up at the phone, and the delinquent hears him calling somebody named Jaoyan saying that he had something come up, so he needs her to come over. As we see her walking down the street, everybody's gossiping, as she must be a really famous hunter. She's heading straight towards their store. She makes her way in front of it, and the delinquent welcomes her, and then is surprised to see that it's actually her. He asks if she's really Yun Jaoyan. She says that she is. We learn that she is Korea's 4th S-rank hero. He vaguely heard she's his boss's niece, and he wonders why she's here. Jaoyan answers, saying that she's here because of a hero who is strong-arming mana crystals, giving his uncle a headache, asking the delinquent about the details. Back at Dojin's house, we see Yoon playing with her new plushies. As Dojin is training, she's sitting behind him on a table. He says that he can't believe that's all the money he made after hunting all day. At this rate, he'll be too late. He needs to be able to solo rank gates even a day faster. To do that, the most important thing is for him to regain his power. But unlike the past world, the mana in the atmosphere here is scarce. Even if he gathers mana like this every day, it would take him, at a minimum, 3 years. It would be great if he could get some good equipment, but everything here is shit. He then senses something and quickly dashes over to Yoon, picking her up, saying that she needs to get inside. As he does so, Grandma asks what's going on. As the entire house begins shaking violently, they say that it's an earthquake, and Yoon begins screaming. Dojin says that's not what's going on, and that the answer is much simpler. As we see, it's starting to rip apart space-time itself, creating a really cool structure right outside of his house, forming a very unique rift. Granny asks what this is, and Dojin says it's dangerous, so they can't come out of the house. As he quickly leaves, dashing straight into it with zero hesitation, they call out his name. It takes us to the Seoul Metropolitan City Hero Association, as they're saying there is a new rift in Mappo. What a haircut, but he says that this is a new one after 63 days. If it's in Mappo, the White Lion Guild is the closest, so to contact them and quickly dispatch the nearby heroes. He asks where the rift was detected, and they tell him it was in the yard of a private residence. He realizes this is a headache, because if a civilian rather than a hero enters a new rift, no one can enter until they come out. They've had this happen before, and if they do happen to die, a monster wave will occur in the rift zone for 10 days. If that happens, the entire area will be overrun. They ask if the identity of the person has been confirmed, and they start telling him how he entered the rift zone trying to save his younger sister, according to his grandmother's claims. But they don't mention anything about his hero rank, because remember, he has a fake ID. They say that since a civilian has been the one to enter, the probability of a monster wave occurring is so high that it's a 99.9% chance. They all start to feel hella doomed. It then takes us elsewhere, as we see a stack of papers being thrown to somebody's desk. It's none other than Hyo, asking her guard what he means by Dojin being awakened. The guard says he is not registered yet, but it's certain that he has. She asks what the hell Cholwoo did, as it would have been better if this baldy had killed Dojin himself, wondering why things are so complicated, and yet they still took money for not doing their job. Then she tells him that he needs to make sure to tell Cholwoo that if he can't kill that bastard, he'll have to pay her back 10 times the money he received. He tells her that he doesn't think there's a need to contact Cholwoo. When she asks why, he says that since a new rift has appeared in Mappo, it is also located at Dojin's house, and they've confirmed that he entered the rift, and it will be announced by the media soon. She says that means they won't have to see that bastard ever again, and he says that's right. Her anger starts to subside, and she tells him to keep an eye on things until it's certain, and he says understood. Inside of the gate now, Dojin is surrounded by giant-ass trees, and he's looking around, saying it's hard to believe, but he knows this place. It is the Petusia forest that he often visited as a child, and that the shape of the trees, the wind, and everything about it, even the abundant mana in the air, are all perfectly identical, and perhaps if he follows this path in front of him, it will be just as he thought. As he starts smiling, he spots the world tree in front of him off in the distance. It is an ancient spirit tree that holds a flow of high purity mana. The previous world he was in was destroyed, and it was because this tree burned, and the flow of mana was disrupted. The world tree is still standing strong, and he doesn't know the reason, but this means he can regain the mana he had back then. He starts smiling, saying that plot armor really is helping a ton here. As he starts focusing on absorbing what he can, he lets out a deep breath, and then he inhales deeply. He starts counting the days that he's been meditating, and he says that he hasn't even eaten or drank anything. He's just focused on breathing for 10 whole days. He takes another breath, and then his eyes open widely. As we see a bunch of creepy-ass monsters, he calls them Avokina. He says that these were the ones who burned the world tree in the past. As they start leaping towards him, he says it would be nice if he had a water attribute sword. They get closer, but he says that it doesn't matter anyways, as he raises his hand. He begins to imbue it with aura, saying that he'll crush them all here. As he shoots out an aura wave, instantly making one of the monsters scream in pain. He begins to release killing intent, causing the others to freeze up. As they begin to hesitate to move, he explains that what he just did is called mana release. He releases the gathered mana in the form of aura, and makes it explode. It's been a while since he's poured out this much mana. They also begin charging up some kind of breath attack, shooting multiple projectiles at him from the side. He watches as they get close, and they merely brush against a barrier he formed in an instant, saying that he's confirmed the world tree's safety, and that his body's mana is something he needs to check with his own eyes. He starts cracking his neck as the monsters begin howling. He instantly runs in, squeezing two of them by their mouths, and then starts to lift them, and slams both of their heads into one another, causing them to explode. As their heads begin to release a very vibrant fire, they immediately turn into ash, dropping magic crystals. He says that with this, he's confirmed it, and that if he takes care of these, he could also get the unquenchable ember. He begins smiling with greed. He explains that he remembers it having a pretty high probability, and he wonders how many he's going to get from killing these guys. As they start swarming him, he's fending them off with very fluid attacks. As we just constantly watch their corpses turn into ashes, and eventually, after some time, it's gone quiet. We see the ember on the ground, and he reaches over to pick it up, and he looks down at it. He says he's glad there's so many that dropped, as he squeezes it in his hand. He begins to create a fire within his palm, then starts forming it into a ball. He says it would be good to get more mana from the world tree, but it's too much for his current body to receive more than what he has. The method he can use right now is only one. He needs to absorb the ember. As he puts it to his chest, he says that this will change his attribute to the fire one. It begins releasing a fiery aura, and it even comes from his mouth. He says in the past, it was an ember he didn't even need to bother with, and that he can't believe it took him 10 minutes to absorb just one. He starts swinging his hand as he looks down, seeing them all over the ground. He says that hopefully it speeds up, as he continues to absorb them. Back at his house, there's a ton of spectators now watching the rift. Even the news crews are there, recording everything. And a man is pissed, saying that because of one crazy bastard, they might all be doomed, and his name is Bang Sung-woo. Another man with him says that he can't hate him too much, because he did it to save his little sister, and his name is Kim Hyun-woo. Sung-woo says that's probably just something he said, and he probably heard about a rumor that it's easy to awaken in a rift zone, so he went in without thinking. And if he wanted to die, he should have done it alone. Hyun-woo asks what the guildmaster said, and Sung-woo says just the usual, to wait for the wave, wondering where he is. Hyun-woo informs him that there are rifts that appear at the same time in the US, China, pretty much all over the world. And it looks like the guildmaster is busy because of that too. It's the first time something like this has ever happened. But he heard they managed to control it in the early stages over there. Sung-woo's pissed, saying they're the only ones that got screwed over because of one shitty bastard, and that if he ever comes out, he's going to hit him in the face. We learn that it hasn't just been a couple days, but rather it's been 28 days since Dojin had entered. And that the Hero Association has declared a level 1 monster wave in preparation for the case where the first civilian entered does not come out in the next 2 days. We see somebody cutting off the TV, as it was none other than Bossman, saying that the civilian who entered is definitely Dojin. His subordinate says yes, and he had his boys confirm it. His name is Ingu. We finally learn that Bossman's name is Chang Xiaob. Chang Xiaob asks what he thinks the chances of that bastard coming back alive would be. Ingu says that if he's a civilian, there's no need to even talk about it, and that it's not even 0.1%. Chang Xiaob smiles, saying that there's no way he's a civilian, and that's ridiculous, that this means that the Hero Association are seriously mistaken due to a lack of info, as all the other boys got rocked. Then he asks what the percentage it would be if he's an awakened. Ingu says that it would depend on what rank of hero he is, and it's difficult for him to make a judgment. Chang Xiaob says he understands, since being good at fighting and surviving at rifts are two different things, and that they need to secure Dojin's family members. Ingu asks what he's planning to do to them. Chang Xiaob says for now to treat them well. If he dies, they'll sell his family's organs, and if he comes back alive, they'll say they took care of them and created new debt. They are making such a bad mistake, they did not learn their lesson. Back inside the rift, Dojin wonders just how much time has passed of him absorbing embers, and that he's absorbed hundreds of them. and now he can use the fire attribute mana anytime he wants. And that his fire resistance has also increased as a byproduct, and that with the fire attribute alone, he's in a state superior to when he was called the Sword God. He touches the World Tree, saying that in the past too, and even now, the World Tree has once again served him a huge purpose, and he's grateful for it. He starts taking all the monsters' magic cores, saying that he may not ever be able to see the tree again, but if they meet and it is in danger, he will make sure to protect it somehow as gratitude for it giving him an abundant amount of mana. Back at his house at night, he starts to exit the rift, touching the ground, and he says there are no signs of presence within a 1-kilometer radius, and maybe everybody evacuated in preparation for the wave. There is a slightly strong aura in this direction though, as he starts running towards it. We see Sung-woo and Hyun-woo, and he says that judging by their attire, they're the same guys from the last gates. If he gets caught, it'll definitely become troublesome. He starts to put fire attribute into his hand and throws it into the air, causing it to land at a nearby building, but for a second, nothing happens, only for an explosion to immediately occur. Hyun-woo and Sung-woo wonder what the hell is going on as they see the fire, they immediately leap towards it. With the building now ablaze and them arriving, they wonder why a fire broke out of nowhere. Dojin says that his target landed exactly where he wanted it to be. He asks somebody named Kusak if these flames are admirable in their eyes, and if they would have been pleased, because he was the continent's strongest fire mage. Hyun-woo then realizes something, telling Sung-woo to wait, as the rift is strange now. We see that it's slowly beginning to vanish, and they quickly run back over. Sung-woo says that the rift is starting to leave, meaning it was cleared. As Dojin heads up the steps, he takes one look back. On the news, they begin breaking down about how the new rift that occurred in Mappo has disappeared early this morning. In exactly 29 days after the resident of the home entered the rift alone, the Hero Association had anticipated a monster wave, but was surprised by the unexpected phenomenon of its disappearance, and is conducting a thorough investigation. Meanwhile, an unexplained fire also broke out at a junkyard near the rift. Some people begin talking in the streets about how the dude definitely died on the inside of it, and this is why he shouldn't have gone in to begin with. Dojin watches them yapping on the side of the street, saying that if it disappeared, maybe that means he won't be able to see his world ever again. It's a pity, but it's actually a relief to him. He looks up at the sky, saying that there's something else he needs to protect. He heads back to the Lone Shark place and enters, seeing two people smoking. They're talking about how, since Dojin is dead, the old woman and the kid are still alive, so they can use them, and that their boss isn't an ordinary person, and he's going to squeeze out at least 10 times of what he's owed. The old woman is one thing, but the kid looks like she's going to grow up to be really pretty, and that the boss is definitely going to make use of her. Dojin calls out to them, asking them where their boss is, while releasing killing intent. A car pulls up, we hear Chang Xiaob humming, coming out of it. As he starts heading into the office, he says that now that that bastard's dead, he can finally sleep soundly. He then asks Ingu what's on the schedule, and he says that he has a lunch appointment, and there's nothing in the evening. Chang Xiaob says that they should contact Madame Kang and tell her that he's coming tonight, and that she should get the new girls dolled up. As he starts heading upstairs, he's surprised by something. Because one of his men gets thrown past him into the wall, and blood begins flying, he starts sweating nervously, and then he gets thrown onto the floor too. As he starts coughing, he looks up to see Dojin, and Dojin tells him that he needs to crawl like a dog from where he is. Bro is shivering with fear as Dojin kicks back and props his feet up on the table, asking him if he's gone deaf. Chang Xiaob starts slowly crawling forward just like a dog, and Dojin tells him to bark. This is getting a little kinky. But Dojin tells him it's because a bastard like him isn't even worth treating like a human, and that he should be barking like a dog instead. Chang Xiaob lets out a little one. And then before Dojin wheels over, he starts barking as loud as he can like a rabid dog. His poor men are stuck to listen to this. Dojin then wheels over, telling him to bark louder. He says that he acts all nice to him when he was scared originally, but the moment he saw you in a slight opening, he tried to stab him in the back, and he calls him despicable. He asks if he thinks that he has not dealt with bastards like him once or twice. As Chang Xiaob starts screaming for his life, as he will serve him loyally like a dog, Dojin kicks him in the face, causing him to fly backwards, and blood begins pouring out of his nose. Dojin then calls out to Ingu, saying that he's going to be the boss from now on, and he shouldn't work like a dog under a bastard who isn't even human. He already knows they'll backstab their higher-ups, given the chance, and that he'll allow it. Ingu looks nervous, and tells Dojin that their boss has wide connections, and if he suddenly becomes the boss, people will find it strange, and that he shouldn't do this, and that he should spare the boss just this once. Dojin asks why he's being so annoying, as they specialize in things like putting people in drums, then dumping them into the sea. And he knows all about these things, and if they don't want to do it, he can throw them into a monster gate as feet instead. They all start to look worried, as Chang Xiaob starts begging for his life, saying that he'll do everything he can for the rest of his life. He starts bowing over and over, screaming. Dojin says that it would be better to cut him out at this point to avoid trouble, and he sighs, wondering if he's become too soft-hearted. He stretches his hand out towards Chang Xiaob, who starts to get super happy, and he apologizes for everything he's done so far, and says that he will serve him as a human. But instead, Dojin starts burning his hand using his fire attribute, and as he's burning, Dojin tells him that this is his last chance. As he then cuts his arm off, it begins disintegrating into ash on the floor. As he's screaming while holding onto a smoking hand, Dojin says that if even a small scratch appears on his family, they're all going to die. They should remember the smell of burning flesh, because he'll make sure that they experience it again if they don't listen. The official report says that Dojin is considered to have been vanished along with the rift. As he's inside of a McDonald's with his little sister, we learn that the government, the Hero Association, pretty much every media outlet was treating Dojin as somebody who was already dead. Even if he let them know he came back to life, it would only cause trouble. The bright side is that Chang Xiaob should find him a new house soon, so he'll just take it easy and get ready to move. As Yoon Young is enjoying her meal, she says that she's happy now that they're moving. Dojin says this means she can go to kindergarten like the other kids, and next year he'll go to school too. She starts to look sad, and he asks what's wrong, and she really doesn't want to go. She says that she doesn't because the kids are going to make fun of her for not having a mom or a dad. Realizing that she's right, he says it's okay, and she doesn't have to go. There's no need for her to see jerks like that, and they can just go straight to school next year. She gets excited, asking if she really doesn't have to go to kindergarten, and Dojin says she doesn't, wondering if maybe he should send her to a prestigious private school so nobody will look down on her. We get a flashback to Dojin yelling at somebody for having his grandmother and Yoon Young stay in a motel, asking if he doesn't have common sense. We see it's Ingu, and he says the motel is owned by their company, and in terms of safety it's pretty good. Dojin tells him to forget it as he opens the door. Yoon Young is super excited to see him, and then she runs over and starts hugging him. Even his grandmother is just so glad that he made it back alive. Yoon Young begins crying, saying his name over and over, and he smiles, saying that he's glad he's back. She then asks if he's a hero, and he asks if she would like it if he were. She says no, she hopes he isn't one, and when he asks why, she says it's because she heard that heroes fight scary monsters and sometimes die, and that both her and grandma just want him to stay with them forever. Dojin goes to say something, but stops himself, and even Yoon Young can tell that there's something he wanted to say. He says even in his harsh past world, he was the last surviving human. The things he lost while fighting monsters all those years is something he'd long forgotten, but now they've appeared by his side again. In this world, it feels like he could live protecting this small happiness. It takes us to the Hero Association as we are introduced to the founder of it and a board member of the World Hero Federation. Na Tai Huang, who asks if they're really saying it's impossible to know anything. A woman tells him that nothing has been confirmed yet, and she's sorry. Tai Huang says that's frustrating, because if a rift can disappear on its own, that just means it can reappear as easily. She says this is true, and that unpredictable variables are dangerous, and if it had triggered a wave, it would have been better. He tells her to watch her mouth, as considering public safety, this was actually a fortunate outcome. She says she misspoke, and we learn that he is one of the 100 most respected heroes in the entire world. If he ran for president, he'd win by the largest margin ever. It's said he could bring down domestic conglomerates if he wanted to, but his interest lies not in presidency nor in wealth, only in the safety of the people encountering the rift phenomena. He tells her to take her time and investigate it thoroughly. She says she understands, and that the homeowner near the rift agreed to sell. He says if that's really the case, she should make an offer well above market value, also offer some money to comfort them for the loss of a family member, that would also be ideal. He starts looking at his laptop and realizes something, as the rift appeared in other countries at the same time, and this could be something serious. He says that China and the States have already got it under control. The real problem is the United Kingdom. Their top heroes were dispatched to other rifts, so they're the most vulnerable. He then gets a notification and says, "Oh shit." She asks what's wrong, as we see that there is a rift wave outbreak in the United Kingdom. Meanwhile, Dojin heads back downtown to the magic gem store, and as the door begins ringing, the delinquent welcomes who he thinks is a normal customer, until he sees Dojin. He starts screaming. He then tells the manager that this is the guy, as we see a new manager closing his newspaper. He asks if he's the one who price gouged their magic stones while he was gone. Dojin says this is perfect, as he's got a lot to sell. So he was hoping someone high-ranking could take care of it. He drops it on the ground, and the guy says that he must have brought a lot of shitty, unrefined, low-quality stones, and that he doesn't have business with him, so he should leave. Dojin asks if he's really refusing to trade. The manager says he must not understand, a 1% commission means massive losses for them, and that he won't deal with him again. He should just take his stuff and leave. Dojin laughs, saying that he's gonna regret that. The manager says that he can't even talk sense into him. There's a reason that the other place charges so much, and that's because of the magic stone distribution structure, but decides that there's no point explaining it to someone so uneducated, telling him to take his bag and get the hell out. Dojin then puts his foot onto it, kicking all the magic stones out. The delinquent and the manager are both surprised, saying that one of them is even a hero tier magic stone, and the price is literally still not even determined. Dojin says if they don't want it, they can forget it. We learn more about the hero magic stone. In Mexico, the infamous drug lord Caressa Man was breaking down magic stones to make drugs, when one day one of the magic stones exploded, and it activated its true power, awakening him as a hero. Ever since then, this type of stone became famous as an essential item for hero awakening and magic enhancement. Also called a hero magic stone, it is both a rare energy source and an ultra-luxury item. They both can't believe what they're witnessing, and Dojin tells them to put it back in his bag, as he's gonna leave. The manager begins kiss-assing, asking if he would like to wait a moment. As the delinquent is cleaning off all the gems, the manager gets Dojin some coffee and greets him, saying that the commission fee is definitely too low. Dojin tells him that if he doesn't like it, to forget it. The manager says that's not what he meant. He was just curious why he's suddenly lowering it. When it was 1% before, now it's 0.5%. Dojin says it's because he's annoyed, and the manager says that's his fault, and that was careless of him. Dojin says he's sick of apologies, and if he says more, he should just tell him if he's gonna match his rate or not. The delinquent says this dude sure is rotten, and he's hella rude. The manager says fine, and he starts yapping about the commissions, but Dojin says that he doesn't want to hear all of that, and if he doesn't like it, he's gonna leave. The manager asks for a 9%, because they're taking a serious loss. Dojin tells him not to then, and the guy starts pleading, making the number lower and lower, until they finally get to a point where the delinquent is just disassociating. The manager falls to his knees, and Dojin says, out of goodwill, he'll give him the 1% back. The manager agrees, but is internally mauling. And Dojin says just so he knows, he's got around 7 more bags just like this. Both in disbelief, the manager tells the delinquent to go get the contract immediately. Dojin leaves and looks at his bank account, saying that at this rate, the 110 billion won house isn't out of reach. But the real problem is gates aren't enough to get hybrid magic stones, and he needs to roam rift zones freely. Both of their phones start beeping, and they wonder if a wave broke out. As they're looking on the news, it's talking about how the United Kingdom had a rift break, and Dojin thinks about it. Dojin calls them useless, saying that they are people with no abilities, and that's pretty pathetic. In the past, he would rush into a rift zone no matter the country or association, but he won't live like that anymore. As we see some meat being grilled, he took the fam out to eat, and they are eating good right now. His grandma says that it is really expensive, and that it might be a bit much. He tells her he earned a lot of money, and that she should eat all she wants. Yoon Young starts to put it towards her mouth and starts chewing on it, and immediately her eyes begin to light up. She starts talking about how gas it is. Meanwhile, Granny looks a little nervous about the situation. Dojin can tell she's worried, then he asks for a lot more meat. Granny asks how they are meant to eat all of this. He says they should eat to their heart's content, and that she should make sure she is well fed. Yoon puts some meat towards her mouth, saying it's amazing, and she should try it. Granny takes a bite, and also starts saying how gas this is. Now everyone is enjoying their meal. We then see a familiar woman walking towards them, as it's none other than Jaoyan. She calls out to Dojin. He turns, as she asks if she can have a word with him, saying that she knows he's a hero. He says that clearly she can see he's busy with his family, and if she has business, she can come back after his meal. She sits there for a second, and wonders if maybe he doesn't know who she is, but agrees to come back later, just in disbelief that he talked to her like that. As she is now sitting in the waiting area of the restaurant. We see tons of people looking over at her, surprised to see a celebrity, as she is a global superstar. People say she definitely deserves to be in the top 10 most beautiful heroes, but they wonder who she's waiting for, and what kind of man would make her wait to begin with. She's just thinking about how 2 months ago, he returned alive from a gate. It's suspected that he awakened during that event, and he was reported dead in the recent rift as well, but here he is, alive and well. Also that he low-key made her tense up with just one look and a few words. But for an S-rank awakening in under 2 months, it's unheard of. There was an oil tycoon who spent years buying mana stones, and it still took him 5 years to reach S-rank after awakening. There's no way he is already in S-rank, so he must have some kind of unique ability. The chairs begin sliding backwards as the family is now heading out. Jaoyan starts to walk towards them, but they get interrupted by somebody walking toward them. Dojin looks surprised, and we see a man saying that he thought he was seeing things, but it turns out he wasn't, asking how Dojin crawled out of the gate. This is Chulwoo, who we have heard so much about. Chulwoo says that he knew he was a pest, but turns out he's a cockroach. Jaoyan wonders why, out of all people, Chulwoo is here now, as he starts getting right into Dojin's face. Dojin brushes him off and asks Jaoyan if she had business with him. Chulwoo then turns, wondering who he's being ignored for, and is surprised to see her. Dojin then tells Jaoyan that he'll help her out, so she should do his family a favor. She asks what he wants, and he says that she should grab them a cab and get them home, as he's got things to do, and there's a debt that needs to be collected right here and now. Chulwoo also begins grinning at him. Outside the restaurant, Jaoyan is telling his family not to worry and head back, and she waves at Yoon, calling her a little cutie patootie. After they leave, she lets out a sigh. Back inside the restaurant, we hear a loud slap. We see Dojin was the one who did it. Chulwoo is just surprised, and he turns, asking Dojin if he wants to die. The waitress then begs that they don't do this inside, and he swings at her, telling her to screw off. As she falls to the floor, the others in the restaurant start screaming, telling him to get out of here. Chulwoo though asks if they all want to die, and who they think they are to talk to him like that. Dojin then punches towards him, hitting him in the face, causing his head to spin. He manages to grit his teeth to remain conscious, but he falls to his knees. Dojin calls out to him, saying that he dragged him into that gate and locked him there to die, and they have a lot to talk about, asking if he's right. Chulwoo says that he has nothing to say to a bastard whose own father abandoned him, and there's a reason his stepmother asked him to do the job. Dojin starts to unlock his phone, hitting the record button, telling him to say that again. Chulwoo laughs, saying that he has no idea what he's talking about, as he starts to imbue his hand with fire. He rears it back, coming in for a punch, saying that Dojin's actual mother is nothing but a whore, so nobody will miss him when he's gone. Dojin watches his fist and stretches his hand out towards it, causing Chulwoo's to fly backwards into the air. Chulwoo is surprised that it got deflected so easily, but it's clearly just the start, as Dojin's still stretching his hand out, and it sends Chulwoo flying backwards. Dojin immediately follows up, and all we hear is the sound of him getting his shit rocked. The waitress starts panicking, trying to remember what number the police is, because she's in full flight mode. But somebody takes her phone away, as we see Jaoyan, saying that she'll handle this. The waitress thanks her, and as Dojin is just giving him the backhand treatment, she says that Chulwoo is a B-rank hero, but seeing him being beaten like this, then this means that Dojin is at a minimum of an A rank. But even A rank should not be able to handle a B rank like this. She calls out to him, saying that he's going to kill him at this rate. Dojin looks back down at Chulwoo, realizing she's right, and lets him fall to the floor. He shakes his hand. She asks how much he knows about Chol Woo, and he says that he knows everything worth knowing, asking why it matters. She sighs, saying it does matter because his cousin is the S-rank hero, Youngpyo. Dojin says he knows that, asking why it's a problem. She's just surprised that he knew, yet he's acting like he couldn't care about it in the slightest. Jaoyan says the only reason that Chol Woo has gotten away with acting like he has is because of Youngpyo protecting him, which means what he just did is seriously dangerous. She knows there's a bit of bad blood between the two of them. But if he thinks that Youngpyo will just let this slide, it's a mistake. Dojin laughs, and she asks if he's really not afraid of him. Dojin says that he's not really, but what's annoying him right now is how well she seems to know him, and he glares at her as they have their WWE staring contest. The waitress cries, saying that she thought she was supposed to deal with this. Jaoyan apologizes for showing up unannounced, saying that it's a favor from her uncle, saying that surely he knows that her uncle owns the Gas and Stone Man where he has been selling his mana crystals, and that she would like to buy them instead. He asks how much she wants, and she says that she'll buy everything he owns. He laughs, saying that it's going to be quite a lot though. She says that the wealth of an S-rank hero is beyond imagination. Dojin says there's no reason he can't sell them, but there is a condition, and that it's nothing much, it's something that she should easily be able to do. Meanwhile, we see a bottle being slammed into the ground, and it's none other than his stepmother, Hyo, saying that she thought he was dead because whenever he went into the rift, he wasn't meant to come out. She throws a bottle at her bodyguard, and he apologizes, saying that it was certain that even internally at the Hero Association, they thought he was dead. She tells him to stop making excuses, wondering what he's going to do about this. He then tells her that he has something more important to report, and that Chol Woo was assaulted by Dojin. She wonders why he went after Chol Woo, and the bodyguard then suggests that maybe he knows. She starts to sweat nervously, saying that it'll be annoying if it gets to her husband's ears, but if she can smooth it over, it won't matter. But if it's revealed to the media, the group's stock price could fall, so she has to stop that. She then tells the bodyguard to keep the media outlets in check, because if they publish an article, then everyone should pull their ads and never deal with them again. He says that he's already silenced both the police and the media. She sighs out of relief, saying that he did great. He says that surely she knows this is not a fundamental solution. Then he informs her about how Chol Woo's cousin is Youngpyo. She asks if he means the S-rank hero. We learn that Chol Woo was famous even in the hero world as somebody that was complete trash. Publicly, Youngpyo was known to be deeply caring for his cousin, but in reality, Chol Woo was nothing more than someone who did all sorts of dirty work ordered by him. She says that means they should meet with him first and schedule an appointment as soon as possible. But she also recognizes that this means Chang Xiaob also betrayed them. Manager Lee, her bodyguard, says yes, and he's reportedly taking care of Dojin's family. She says they need to contact Prosecutor Park immediately, because Chang Xiaob needs to pay the price for trying to abandon her and choose Dojin's side. Meanwhile, outside of a gate, we learn that there are a total of 37 rift zones in South Korea. Among them, 5 rift zones are currently in the process of becoming gates, and the rest can only be hunted by heroes affiliated with the association by coordinating schedules. They confirm Jaoyan identity, wishing her a safe trip. As she starts to head in, Dojin says there's only one entrance, and even though they know it's her, they're thoroughly checking her identity and controlling access. One of her raid members says that for her to suggest a rift zone hunt first is pretty unusual. We learn that she is A-ranked, and the guildmaster of the Wallflower Guild named Young In Yo. Jaoyan says that there's no point in her lazing around, and she looks back anxiously, spotting Dojin. Back when he said he had a condition, it was that if she let him into a rift zone, if she does then he'll sell her all the mana crystals he has at market price. And it's because hunting in rift zones makes more money. She wonders if he's really coming to such a dangerous place solely for money, saying that he's not in his right mind. Even if it wasn't her uncle's request, she needed mana crystals anyway, so it doesn't matter to her. As they make their way through the tunnel on the other side of the rift, Inyo starts blushing, asking Jaoyan for the truth about the man who's joining them. Jaoyan, annoyed, says that he's just an acquaintance, and she asks if she really expects her to believe that, wondering if he might be her boyfriend. She says it's not like that, she just owes him a favor, so she brought him along to repay it. She's just surprised that there's an S rank who owes anybody a favor. Jaoyan says that it's just how it goes. And then the air starts to get tense, which everybody notices, even Dojin does, and everybody immediately starts to get into formation, as what we see above them is a giant monster flying in. Inyo yells out, saying that it's a cockatrice. Inyo clicks her tongue, saying that this had to happen as soon as they entered the gate. Dojin drops his bag, and as Ja-Oyen starts to order her group around, Dojin dashes straight by her, leaping off the ground straight toward the cockatrice. She yells out his name, and everybody is surprised. As he's now directly in front of it, he rears back his fist, channeling it with aura, then starts to swing straight towards it, hitting it straight in the face. It sounds as if a tank round just went off, causing the cockatrice to fly straight into the ground, shattering it. He lands in front of her, and as we see the dent of his fist and its skull laying there motionless, everybody is surprised, just speechless, wondering if it died in one hit. Dojin says not yet, as he raises his foot into the air, and he says that it will die when he does this, as he stomps down on its cheek, and he continues just stomping the life out of it. Still, they're in disbelief, and Inyo asks Ja-Oyen who the hell he is, and she says that he's just a strong dude. She asks if that's really all she has to say, asking if she knows how many heroes can take down a cockatrice in a single blow. She says that Inyo could do the same thing, wondering why she's tweaking. She says that she saw it too, and she's still saying that, but also it was in an aerial battle no less. It couldn't even dodge a punch flying straight into its face, and it got knocked down in a single blow. Ja-Oyen, though, is trying to understand who exactly he is, and what happened to him in the rift. Ja-Oyen says that she thinks they need to change the plan, and she's going to the center for a bit. She walks towards Dojin, and he says that he has no intention of sharing with someone who has not contributed. She says that she wasn't planning on asking him to, and that his skills don't seem to match this place, asking if he wants to go deeper inside. He smiles, saying that sure does sound fun. She tells him that she knows the area well, so she'll take the lead, and that he should follow closely if he doesn't want to get lost. She starts dashing off, maybe she's trying to gauge his speed. As he watches her leave, he crouches down, and dashes off as well, causing the rest to almost fall over. Inyo says if Ja-Oyen is a bullet, then this dude is Barry Allen. One of Inyo's guild members asks why they aren't going, and she asks if they really think they can keep up, and the dude says hell no. She says exactly, today they're just extras, and they should just hunt like they usually do, they're just going to chill out here by the entrance. She walks over towards the cockatrice and looks down at it, saying that everybody praises them as A-rank heroes, but in front of S-ranks, they're such insignificant beings. And she wonders just how strong Dojin truly is. Back to Ja-Oyen running through the forest, she looks behind to see where Dojin is, saying that she should probably slow down a bit. But he's behind her, asking if she could go any faster than this. This makes her scream and lose her balance, and she wonders if she really just got caught up too, saying that when it comes to speed, she's top 2 in Korea. Dojin stops running, and jogs backwards to her, saying that she's slower than he thought, and she ran like she was trying to lose him. She begins to blush, asking why he thinks that. Starting to get embarrassed, she tries to cover it up, and he looks up at the sky, spotting a mountain, asking her what that is. She says that over there is the place where the boss monster of the Rift Zone is. Dojin asks what she means, and she asks if he's heard of Kasserian. It is a 20-meter giant beast that resembles a pterosaur, which I don't know where they learned dinosaurs, but I'm not seeing it. She tells him not to even think about fighting it, because they would need at least 3 S-rank heroes to take it down. He asks if it drops a super high-grade monocrystal. She says it does drop that, but wonders if he's even listening to her. She walks forward, saying she really is not thinking of fighting it, more importantly she didn't bring him here to do something so reckless. He starts dashing off, and she says that this dude is an absolute maniac, and she runs after him, telling him to wait. And we see nothing but dust left behind from them running, as he's heading straight towards the Kasserian. A little later, Ja-Oyen is surprised, wondering what the hell is going on, as we see the Kasserian's corpse in front of her. Dojin pulls out his knife to start taking out the stone, and she says that it is an extremely powerful boss. She says that even Park Haeol in S-rank, who is known for hunting one, went on his first Kasserian hunt with 30 A-rank heroes, and every single one of them died except for Haeol, leaving him barely alive. After that, he had to flee, and he gathered an S-rank hero and 200 A ranks for his revenge mission. We see them throwing spears at the beast, trying to tie down his wings and horns, and Hail led the charge straight towards it. The Cassirian let out a roar, and easily flung off most of them. Ultimately, he succeeded in killing it, but not for a cheap cost, because they lost over 80% of their group. His mega guild called Sweet Life has still not recovered its strength even 3 years later. Dojin glances over at her, saying that surely she knows she didn't contribute anything, so she can't have a portion of his stone. Annoyed, she says that she would not have believed it if she didn't see it with her own eyes, and that the infamous Cassirian was taken down by this man in a single strike. As he pulls out its mana stone, he's looking down at it, saying that he doesn't need any more guidance, and that from now on he's going to move on his own. She asks if he's not going to take any of its byproducts. She says, besides the magic stones, there are way more valuable items, like its feathers and claws. He stops, saying they're not that profitable to him, and he begins walking away. He says it's more efficient to get other magic stones during that time, and she can take the byproducts if she wants, and to consider it her guide fee. She looks down at its beak, and says that she doesn't need them either. Back up the entrance with the other group. We see bags all around, and they're all looking at one in particular, and are all speechless. One of Inyo's guild members says that dude braved the giant backpack and came back with it completely filled to the brim, asking if they can believe it. At this rate, their entire guild would need at least 20 hours of non-stop hunting to make that amount, and judging by the contents, it would take about 3 full days of hunting for them. And they wonder what the hell his true identity is. Inyo says that ignoring the speed and quantity of how many stones he got, if Jaoyan is right and he defeated a Cassirian without any special equipment or a suit, that makes him the strongest hero in the entirety of Korea. Maybe even the entire world. She looks back anxiously as Dojin's carrying yet another couple bags. They say that he's an absolute animal for carrying this much. And Jaoyan tells everybody just to be clear, they can't mention this anywhere. It's not like people would believe it anyways. Inyo's guild members laugh, saying that she's right, and then Jaoyan walks over and starts lecturing Dojin. Everybody else mistakes it as them flirting, saying that they should have noticed when she brought a strange dude here, and that he must at least be that good looking to avoid looking dull next to her, and that they suit each other since they look like a handsome couple. But Inyo can tell that this is not flirting, and that he is treating her very roughly. She never thought that someone would treat Jaoyan like that. He then drops the bag in her hands and starts to walk away, and she's just surprised, wondering why he's leaving without even saying goodbye. Jaoyan says that's just how he is, and Inyo asks if he left all these backpacks behind. She says yes, since she told him that if people find out he beat a Cassirian, he'll become famous overnight, but he said he hates the spotlight so much and told her to handle everything. Inyo just wonders what the hell kind of guy that is, and even Jaoyan is having that thought, as we see her blushing. She is cooked. So far, here are my personal thoughts. In terms of story, we're about 20 chapters in, but to be fair, the chapters aren't very long compared to other series. And honestly, not much has happened yet in terms of character development, or even world building. It's been pretty light across the board. That said, I do like the story itself. I'm definitely an enjoyer of overpowered characters, even if it takes them a bit to climb back to full strength. But here, it feels like the pacing's a little too quick. We're not really seeing much of his day-to-day, just these little cut-in moments. It's like we're spectating highlights, rather than actually seeing his progression. Feels kinda off. At least it should flush out more of the dungeons he's clearing to get magic stones using his fake ID. And let's talk power scaling real quick. Bro went into one rift and somehow came out stronger than when he was known as the literal sword god. Maybe it's just me, but that's wild. He's also had the only real development so far, starting to care about the original body's family, which is nice to see since it's something he hasn't felt in a long time. But also, 10 years of non-stop fighting and then your whole world collapses. That feels quick. Maybe it's a translation thing, maybe it was meant to be hundreds of years like in The Night King Who Returned with a God, where Lionheart fought for hundreds of years. That makes more sense to me, but we'll see. I do wish we had a clearer picture of the end goal, or the bigger threat. Or maybe that's the point, and we're settling into a bit of a slice of life vibe. And honestly, I'd be fine with that too. I'm just a bit sad we didn't get to see more of his actual growth. They set up this whole system with dungeons and hero rankings, only for it to already feel irrelevant now that he's casually the strongest being again. At this point, I just hope he starts flexing a little. Make it fun, you know. But with how he doesn't want the spotlight and is kind of staying in the background, I doubt we'll get much of that. Still, early days. These 20 chapters are the same length as 8 or 10 in a lot of other series, so there's plenty of room for all of that to develop. I am looking forward to learning more about his original world, why these rifts are appearing, and especially how he ended up possessing this body, because we didn't see any of that. It just kinda happened. Combat-wise, it's decent. I wish the fights were a bit more fluid, but the hits have weight. There's impact. And that's enough to keep me interested for now. So yeah, that's all I've got for the moment. Not much has really happened, but I'm still curious. Let me know what you think about the series so far. If you've watched till the end, comment, Kingdom Come, to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.